Hi, my name's Rich Harrington.
And I'm Robbie Carmen.
And welcome to this edition of Creative Cow's DSLR podcast. Now today we're sort of talking about the fuel for these cameras. I like to think of it that way.
Yeah, that's a good way of thinking about it, I think.
Memory cards.
Memory cards, yeah. So memory cards in DSLR cameras are obviously the recording medium that when you shoot photos, but as well as when you shoot video, that's where your images and videos are getting stored to.
And the good news is that compared to other tapeless acquisition formats, this is a relatively low cost per gigabyte.
Absolutely. I mean, this card that I'm holding right now, it's 32 gigs. I think I bought it for, $115 or something like that.
But when you go to the store, you go online, there is a huge range of prices for memory cards. And I think there's a lot of confusion. And what a lot of folks don't realize is, like, for example, if I'm shooting time lapse or I'm shooting burst mode in RAW, shooting stills, I actually need a higher speed memory card than I do when I'm shooting video.
Well, yeah, I mean, but before we even get to the speed stuff, you have to make an even more basic decision. What kind of memory card does your camera support?
True.
And on most DSLR cameras, we're going to have probably two options, right?
Yep.
Either a compact flash card like this guy, and that's a SD card. That's another choice.
And I think the trend I've been noticing is that SD cards are starting to become more common.
They are.
Compact flash cards were always thought of as more professional.
Yeah, more rugged, use a more professional gear, sure.
But I think we're seeing SD cards gaining, and they certainly are less expensive than compact flash cards.
They are, and in some cameras offer you the choice of both. Like the Nikon that you have there lets you shoot with both compact flash and standard SD cards.
Well, this one's actually two SDs. This is the newest one,
gotcha.
but the other Nikons, the 300S, is actually both.
So many cameras, I get confused.
I know, they have options, you have choices. But that brings up a point. The Nikons have been implementing a dual card slot option.
Yep.
So I really like that because I can actually be recording to two cards at once.
Yep.
So I could set one to roll over when the other's full, or I could set it up to do dual recording so it's backing up to two cards. So when I have to do a memory card change, I've already backed up.
Absolutely, absolutely. But get back to your other point before I cut you off, was the deal about the speed and class of the memory card that you're going to choose, right? So a lot of times when you look, say, at compact flash, you'll notice that it has a speed rating like 133 times or 266 times.
Right.
That refers to the speed of that card.
Of course, that's a speed of what number? It's what, based on the original transfer speed of the first memory card?
Yeah, there is a standard for it, and it's just it's a data rate that everything is measured by, right? So
it's just like 8 times X DVD,
Exactly. So the thing about the speed that comes into play, take for example, looking at a compact flash card, is that a faster card, the higher that number, 133 time or whatever, you're going to be able to do a couple things. If you're shooting photos in burst mode, you'll be able to clear the buffer on the camera faster to get actual photos onto the memory card. And then when you're shooting video, a faster card is going to support higher frame rates, get less prone to getting buffer errors. The other thing that a fast card will do for you is that when it comes time to get stuff off of the card onto a machine,
speeds up the post-production because it takes less time to unload.
Right, because the card reader can access it faster and so on.
And that's really where the speed is coming into play. It's not so much the fact that you are shooting at that speed. Even a relatively slow card, cards that are 4 or 5 years old are often fast enough for shooting video.
Absolutely.
But my sort of rating is if I'm getting a compact flash card, I'm looking for a UDMA rating.
Yep.
It's sort of like a good, solid, this is a premium video capable card.
Yep.
And then on the SD card, I'm looking for a class 10.
Yeah, absolutely. UDMA and the classes are definitely a thing to look for. And I mean, the other thing that I when I'm looking at cards that I try to do is try to hit the sweet spot, right? I have plenty of slower 133 times card, but if I'm going out in the field and I know that I'm going to be shooting a lot of photos and I'm going to be shooting a lot of video, I try to hit that sweet spot of maybe something like a 266 card, or if I don't have a class 10 card on me, maybe a class or so slower. But it's getting the best and fastest you can is always a good thing.
And it sort of depends on the frame rate where you're shooting, but a 32 gig card is going to be somewhere between like 100 minutes and 3 hours, right?
Yeah, for example, on this Canon 7D, I can get about 300 megabytes per minute of recording. Right.
Okay.
So, if you do the math on, say, a 32 gig card or 64 gig card, you can get quite a bit on each card.
Yeah, it's possible that you might be shooting for the whole day. Now, the issue there, of course, is what happens when you run out of space. And this is a much deeper topic, but I wanted to point out we are seeing new devices popping up. Like this one here is from Nexto, and this has a 500 gig hard drive in it.
Yep, just pop card in there and transfer it over.
Yeah, and so this is reusable, and when you pop in the memory card, it actually does a verified copy, tells you it's backed up. And then, you could even be doing it incrementally during the day. And that's great because then and you can even look back the footage on the screen.
Yeah, I love those devices. I mean, another option, of course, is using, bringing a laptop in the field with you and just having sort of a transfer station in the field. As cards fill up, you can transfer them over. That has the added bit of benefit, just like these devices, of, sort of backing up and securing your footage. But then the other thing to consider is that these cards are getting so cheap these days, just buy a whole bunch of cards, right?
It's not even unheard of to just keep those cards on the shelf until the project is done.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm doing a big production, I might go out and buy, 10, 12, 15 brand new cards, just load each one up, and then just not do anything with it, back it up, of course, but not erase it until I get the footage transferred and I'm working with it.
And the last thing to point out is when it comes time to transfer those cards, look for a high-speed card reader.
Oh, yeah.
Now, you've got options like this particular one here is a FireWire 800 based one, so very, very fast. Lexar and Hoodman tend to make these. There's others popping up on the market. But, you don't want to experience that bottleneck of you got all this great footage, and then you're sitting there at USB speeds waiting for it to transfer. Great. Thanks for joining us. My name's Rich Harrington.
And I'm Robbie Carmen.
And be sure to head on over to creativecow.net where you can check out the DSLR forum, post your questions, search for answers. Thanks again.